Episode 100. We are going to change medicine. Every corner that you turn around, there's someone that is very willing to tell you that you're not enough. Even if you've got the best CV in the world, even if you've done the PhD and you've got 20 research papers, I guarantee you there'll be someone that goes, oh, but they haven't published in the last few years. And when I think about that person feeling anything less than impressed with themselves, it just breaks my heart a little bit. We should be so proud of who we are. I didn't fail today. I did a beautiful job today. Could you imagine the power of that? We all know our value and we don't need anyone to tell us whether we're successful or not. That is the essence of this concept. We want to be here for you to keep reminding you that it's doable and it's worth it.
Hello, my beautiful friends. My name is Dr. Beck.
And I am Christine Barker, and this is Am I Doing It Wrong? A podcast for doctors by doctors. Every week on the pod, we'll be bringing you conversations which shine light in dark places, normalise the doctor journey, ease unnecessary suffering, and give you actionable steps to thrive in all facets of your life. So grab a cuppa and get cozy for this week's episode of Am I Doing It Wrong?
This has been an emotional roller coaster. We've had tears. Now we're laughing. Guys, we're here. We're here at episode 100. This podcast has meant so much more to us than what we... Oh my gosh, I'm going to cry.
No, I was crying earlier. We had to delay our start because I was crying. You're the strong one, Beck. Keep it together.
I have no choice but to cry. This podcast has meant so much more than we ever could have thought. And the reason is because of you guys. We just want you guys to know how excited we are to have connected with you, and more than that, for the future that we're going to create together, because we are going to change medicine, because we have these conversations with each other. And every time we speak to another like-minded Dr. Human, we realize, actually, this part of me is not only normal in medicine, not only welcome in medicine, but actually celebrated. With all that being said, welcome to episode 100. Christine and I just want to sit with you guys and connect, consolidate what we're all about, what all of us together are all about, and how we're going to keep showing up in medicine to make it a better place for all the Dr. Humans, to make it a place that we really feel like we belong, and a place that we're really happy to go to on the majority of days of our life. So, episode 100, let's do it. Christine, I know that over the last couple of weeks, months, you've been really tapping into this realization, this new concept of what success looks like in medicine. And that realization is really profound, because it also encompasses the realization that, the picture of success that we were painted, by default in medicine, this is what a good doctor is. This is how you know that you're being a good doctor. This is what it looks like to succeed in medicine. To be able to recognize that that was something that most of us, if not all of us, have carried, we've implicitly learned, and then deciding, wait a minute, there's another way to do this. So, Christine, with episode number 100, here and now, I would just love to hear about what your biggest realizations, lessons, transformations about us as Dr. Humans, about us, our community here on the podcast, have been, because I know they resonate.
It's a bit of a layered concept, but basically what I see when I walk around the world, and it just breaks my heart, and I've definitely been privy to it as well, is that doctors are some of the most incredible humans on planet Earth, doing incredible things, using their powers for good, right? They have so much intelligence and academic ability, and they chose medicine because they wanted to use those powers for that particular purpose, right? To help people. That's usually how it's routed. There's obviously lots of ways to end up in that career, but usually it's a wholehearted reason that you've come here. And then you become a doctor, and then all of a sudden there's this culture, there's this cloud around you every corner that you turn around, there's someone that is very willing to tell you that you're not enough, that you're not enough in some way. You don't have enough research. You don't have enough on your CV. There's just millions of different ways that we get the message that we're not enough. And so all these incredible doctor humans are walking around the world feeling like they're failing at something, when really, like, they should feel like they're thriving. They should feel like they're doing a great job. And yet the culture and the structure and all of the external noise and signaling is making them feel a different way. And you often talk about this, Beck, as clinician conditioning, and we can get onto that. But I guess what I'd love to do is for us to actually redefine what success is. You know, if it is true that round every corner someone's going to be telling us that we're not enough, and I don't even care, even if you've got the best CV in the world, even if you've done the PhD and you've got 20 research papers, I guarantee you there is someone, if you stop doing research for a period, a 6 months to 12 month phase of your life, there'll be someone that goes, oh, but they haven't published in the last few years. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's always someone willing to put down something. It's just, we're always on the hamster wheel, we're always chasing. But I think we're chasing the wrong thing. And I don't really think that those people, the naysayers, should be the people who do define our success. Like, I think what would be much more powerful is if we could define our own success as something much more meaningful. So nothing to do with your CV, nothing at all to do with that, and more to do with what you actually came here to do. Like, did you show up to work today and help one single person? Did you, and that could be a patient, that could be someone you're mentoring. You could just have a beautiful interaction with someone, you know, as simple as making your colleague who's having a bad day a cup of tea. That simple, right? Like, if that was the definition of success, and that happens, unlike your CV, that happens on a daily basis. Can you just imagine if we reframed that and Dr. Humans really believed that, and then they were crashing into bed at night being like, well, if that's the definition of success, I had a very successful day, right? I didn't fail today. I did a beautiful job today. Like, could you imagine the power of that? We all know our value and we don't need anyone to tell us whether we're successful or not. Like, that is the essence of this concept.
I like want to jump out of my chair when you're talking about this, because I'm like, yes, hey, yes. Here.
Town hall vibes, yeah.
Christine for president. There's so many things you've said, and I'm just going to grab two things. One that made me, it's just kind of mind-blowing to me, is this idea of like the most incredible, benevolent, intelligent Dr. Humans walking the hospital corridors, driving to clinic, doing the doctor thing, which is incredible, both like impressive in terms of not only the cognitive, emotional, and also physical challenge of this work, but then also the benevolence of it, being the kind of person who chooses to work in medicine. You know, that you don't go into medicine for money. I know you can make a good dollar in a couple of subspecialties if you want to, but most people don't do it for the money. So there's this incredible kind of talent and skill set, not just a talent, but a skill set that's been honed and developed and continuously improved and just made to be so impressive and powerful. And then there is the benevolence as the kind of people who actually choose to do medicine. And when I think about that person feeling anything less than impressed with themselves, it just breaks my heart a little bit. Walking around on a moment-to-moment basis, we should be so proud of ourselves. We should be so proud of who we are, but instead, because of our clinician conditioning, because of the way that we have had success framed to us in medicine, the truth is doctors spend, I keep pointing to the hospital over there, doctors spend 95% of their hours, not just at work, but probably at home in their general life too, not feeling good, not feeling proud, not feeling like they're successful. That's the truth of our day-to-day moment. Maybe we sit back and we're like, oh, okay, if I'm going to count up, you know, the accolades that I've achieved in my life and what I've done and where I'm at, if I look at like a big picture like that, maybe we get to the place of like, oh yeah, you know, I've created some success. But we're talking about that feeling of success in the normal Tuesday of your life. It's such a pity to think that doctors wouldn't feel that. And so this concept, Christine, of redefining success in medicine just on that energetic level would change the lives of so many doctors in terms of our day-to-day experience. And we know that when we feel different, when we feel better, we do better, not just productivity-wise, but also in terms of having a positive impact.
Absolutely. I want people to hear me when I'm saying I'm not putting down anyone who's doing beautiful things for their CV. Like, all that stuff's great. Like, the more that's on your CV, the better. You do you. And research and all of that is changing planet Earth. Like, if you're doing that from a place where you really want to do that, power to you, and that is so beautiful and that's excellent. But no matter what you are doing in terms of your accolades and your kind of more objective achievements in your life, they take a while to come, right? They're not going to come like every single day, like you say, Beck. And I think that our day-to-day experience, like, it's obvious why that's important, right? In terms of, like, we could have a day where we just feel terrible about life. It's the same day. Or we could have a different perspective and feel amazing about life. But more than that, I think if you really believed that you were enough just as you are, and all the beautiful things you do. Because if you really think about it, like, as doctors, although we've done a lot of training, the human side of us, which is why I always go on about Dr. Humans, the human side of us is actually one of the most potent parts of us. I find, like, when I'm in clinic with someone, it's my essence that's doing something with them. It's my essence. And we all have that, right? We all have that unique spark, the thing that makes us us. That is what is doing a lot of the therapeutic work. If I'm being therapeutic, it's that part of me. Obviously, we're tapping into stuff I've learned and all the training I've done to, like, put that into this package. But in terms of holding someone's hand when they're crying, that's the human part of me that's doing that. And so I didn't have to have a CV built to have that part. And I feel like if we really understand that we, just by being us, we don't have to prove anything really in those moments with the patients. We can have a huge impact just by being ourselves, which is a whole other thing. And we'll actually have a whole other episode on that, I'm sure, as to why doctors do not feel safe to be themselves, but it's all part of it. And I just think that if we are able to kind of understand that value, then we won't be as affected by the system around us. Like, if you really believe that, you know, you are enough and your CV as it is enough, and you're working on it, and that's fine. If you really believe that, like, what you have is helpful and that you're doing a good job already, you don't really get affected by those people that are trying to tell you that there's a different reality where you're not enough. Like, it's just such a powerful position to be in. And I feel like if more people thought like that, you know, that we were talking about unveiling the truth, then if more people knew the truth, if we want to call it the truth, it's our truth, then suddenly the power dynamics for those people that are trying to put you down and trying to make you feel small for whatever reason, they just dissolve, and then all the power goes back to you. You know, obviously there's parts of clinical work that are working long hours and things like that. They're going to make you tired and things, but not having this layer on top, I think that really is powerful. You know, you can crash into bed at night tired, but still thinking, I did a really good job today. It's a different feeling than, oh God, I've got to go up tomorrow and do it all again and I hate this. You know, it's just so different.
And what you're saying about the need to actually redefine and be really clear about what success is for you, it's really powerful when it comes to, as you're saying, being unmoved by somebody else criticizing you or telling you that you're not doing enough. It's the same sort of thing as when people are like, I want to be able to say no to this. I can't find it in me to say no to this thing I want to say no to. I keep just saying yes. And part of the solution has to be that it's very hard to just say no to somebody when you don't have the reason for why you're doing it. You're not clear about, well, I have to say no to this for my soul, for my integrity. I have to say no to this because otherwise I can't say yes to this thing over here. By defining success for yourself in medicine, then when other people come over here and try and tell you you're not good enough, you're not doing enough, you need to do differently, you're doing this wrong, when all that clinician conditioning comes in to tell you that you're not enough and this is what's true, you actually have something to reference back, to filter all that noise through, all that information, to say, well, this is what I know is important. This is what's important to me. And therefore, do I believe that I'm not enough here? Do I believe that I'm being successful? It's so helpful, as you say, to have that reference point for yourself.
I think in terms of like the impact that we have on a daily basis as well, something that I learned a few years ago, I had this thing, it was quite funny actually, like sort of defining success for yourself, right? I was like, I want to have impact this year. That was my word for the year. And at that time, I laugh at this now, I thought that meant having a lot of YouTube subscribers or something, right? I don't know what I was thinking. What that year taught me was that impact happens one-to-one. Like, that's where you can have the most impact. And that's not to say that obviously we're doing this podcast and we're hoping to impact a lot of people. And, you know, I'm sure that for people listening, you could be doing something similar.
It makes me giggle a little bit because I feel like it's the thing that you tell yourself. Maybe you're coming in to be a doctor or you're starting a YouTube channel, a podcast, something like that. And you're like, oh, will this actually make a difference? Do people want this? Am I going to be a good doctor? And you're like, okay, if I just help one person, then my life will have been a success. I feel like that's the thing that you know there's some truth in it. So you kind of tell yourself that. But it really feels like you're telling yourself. You're trying to hold it together and be like, just think this, just think this, just think this. And then I know that what you've been through is the same thing that I've been through. You know, I was terrified to open a group coaching program because I was like, but what if I have a group and only one person comes? It's not a group. You tell yourself just one person. But then what happens is, when you really tap into what matters to you as a person, and then you actually notice experientially how much of an impact you actually have with that one person sitting in front of you, that's when you stop telling yourself just one person will be enough. And you actually start feeling it and believing it, like, whoa. One person is enough. And that's such a different state. But you only get there if you let yourself see that and feel it and experience it. And you will not get that experience if you're constantly in this alternative idea of success in medicine. If you're constantly buying into the clinician conditioning that you need to be before you can be successful, then when you have that moment in clinic with your patient, and you're sitting with them and you truly make a difference to them, you won't see that. You won't feel it. You'll be too busy up in your insecurities and thinking about what's next and thinking about what you haven't done well enough, and you'll miss it. You will miss that magic.
And that's the funny thing about being with patients and things, is their expectations are actually pretty low. Like, the things that impress my patients are just like me listening and giving a little bit of care. Like, that, they're pretty easy pleased. It kind of blows their mind when you're just like doing what I think is an extremely basic job. But I think as doctors, we forget that we are doing something kind of cool. Like, we just, because we're doing it all every day, we don't realize like this is actually a really beautiful thing.
What the patients are reflecting back to you is also, they're showing you what has been their experience so far of doctors. And I want us to recognize, you know, you say it like it's actually really easy to do, but it's so easy for you. Like, it's easy and basic. It's easy and basic because it's a part of your magic. Like, it's a part of who you are. And not all doctors have that. And that's okay. Some other doctors, there are other groups of doctors who are highly technical and maybe not as social. You know, they're not as socially minded. They're not as personable. They're not as comfortable in vulnerability. They're not as able to hold all of those intangible things that make a really big difference. My neighbor was just telling me yesterday about how she had an experience with a doctor who was this very famous, busy surgeon. And it was just one of the most horrific experiences and scary. She actually said, like, this guy was quite scary. And I was there with my young daughter. When it's something that's a part of your magic, you don't realize it's special. And a part of this, the importance of redefining success in medicine, is if you don't recognize that as something that is impactful and important and magic, then you won't use it. You'll write it off. You'll be too distracted with doing all the technical aspects well, and you will forego this other magic that, you know, as this patient showed you, Christine, is actually quite surprising to a lot of patients when they get somebody who cares about them. It's not that doctors aren't caring, but I think in this system, it's quite rare because of the time pressures, because of the cognitive challenges, because of all these circumstances make it hard for a doctor to show up that way. So when we do show up that way, the patients are like, whoa.
But also, I think that a lot of doctors, because of the system around us and that feeling of failing and the feeling of all the things that go on in your head, and like you say, it's not really an environment that makes you feel necessarily super kind and compassionate on a daily basis. Like I sort of see that as well. But also just to say that whilst my magic might be X, someone else's magic is the Y. That's the essence thing that I'm talking about. And I'm not going to be the best doctor for everyone. Some people are going to like a lot more kind of serious, more maybe masculine type vibe. And that's absolutely fine as well. And I think everyone has the magic, everyone has the essence, and it is special, and everyone, it's beautiful, and everyone, no matter what that means. And so it's just about kind of, like you say, tuning into what it is that you do uniquely and letting that be enough and letting that be success.
Circling back to your headline, redefining success in medicine. Through the podcast, we found that we all vibe along the same lines, and it's along those lines that are different to the status quo in medicine of be professional, be robotic, be technically excellent, and who cares about the rest? You know, that's what a lot of us have learned. And a lot of you guys, a lot of the people we've gotten to meet over the years, you have this other magic that doesn't fit into that box. It doesn't fit into that old idea of what is professional and what a doctor should be. And so we want to invite you to redefine success for yourself in medicine. The second thing that I grabbed from what you said way back at the start of this episode, Christine, if you're sitting here and you're like, where do I start? Redefine success. And I don't even know where to begin with that question. And I think something that is really powerful is to track back to when you decided to be a doctor, not the exact day, the moment, but the time when you're anticipating being a doctor and when you were deciding to, I'm going to make the commitment to this. I'm going to make the time, the financial, the whole lifestyle, the everything commitment to being a doctor. Can you track back to why that felt worth it to you? Can you track back to what change you were excited to affect in the world? What effect you were thinking that you would make as a doctor? How you would impact people or the system, the world, whatever. But track back to before you actually came into all the technicalities and the culture of medicine, and remember, what are going through the blood, sweat, tears, and expense ongoing of medicine? Why was that motivating to you?
Connecting with your why is so beautiful. And also, I would also add to this is like connecting with that human part of yourself, right? You are a doctor human, and you were a human first before you became a doctor, which is what you're saying. Right before you added doctor to your name, you had some ideas about life and how you were going to make an impact. And they might have been very different. They might have been the same as they are. But I think actually part of this problem is that as doctors, once we become doctors, we disconnect from that human part because we hit that override button so many times. We don't even know what we want for dinner, right? We have to deny our basic needs during our training so many times that we get really good at just overriding ourselves until we lose touch sometimes with who we are. I know that's happened to me. And I had to learn how to learn what my likes were, learn what I wanted for dinner, learn what it felt like to feel well again, and not be miserable all the time. I get it. There's no judgment, but I think actually being a doctor can disconnect us from that humanity and from ourselves. And so it's just traveling back to who are you really? Because being a doctor is just one facet of who you are. You are so much more than being a doctor.
It circles back so beautifully to what the podcast is all about. We hope to be this regular reminder of a different way to think about your life as a doctor human. You know, we know that we walk through the corridors and we just get drowned in the culture, the dominant culture there, and we can just so easily disconnect from ourselves and lose ourselves. And what we need to be able to create a life that we really love while still being doctors is we need to be able to connect with ourselves. Our hopes for this podcast is that we are a regular reminder of a different way to think about your life as a doctor, and different questions to prompt you, to keep you, to pull you back into more truth for yourself, more alignment for yourself. That's why we feel so passionate about the podcast and the impact that we're having with you guys, because we want to see you come out in medicine. We want to see you as a person, as your specific special personality with all your magic. We want to see that flowing out into healthcare culture, because we know that all of healthcare will be better, whether it's, for us as doctors, relationships with our colleagues, the system, but also relationships with our patients. It'll all be better if we're all more ourselves. But it's not easy to ask these questions. It's not easy to decide to redefine success in a way that's different to the status quo. So we just want to be here for you every week. We want to be here for you to keep reminding you that it's doable and it's worth it.
I couldn't have said it better, Beck. That was so beautiful. And so thank you so much again to everyone who's listening. I hope this has inspired you to be more of yourself today. And we cannot wait to continue this journey together with you as we move forward to many more hundreds of episodes, no doubt.
Hundreds. Hundreds.
Thousands.
Let's go. In all seriousness, guys, if this podcast has made an impact on you and if you want to hear more from us, the thing that would mean the most to us is if you left our podcast a review. We love you so much. We have been stoked to spend this time with you and truly connect with you in a really meaningful way over the years. And we also want to hear from you again in terms of what else you feel that we might be bold enough to do. Maybe put on some in-person events, create different community spaces. We really want to bring like-minded Dr. Humans together, because we are so much more powerful than we think, and we all have a space that we really truly belong here in medicine. We just need to get together and create it.
So beautiful. Thank you so much, guys, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.
We get so many heartfelt thank yous from our fellow doctors for having these vulnerable conversations on this public podcast. If you want to say thank you too, we would be most appreciative if you left our podcast a review. Reviews actually mean everything to us, because they're what make the platform share this podcast with all the other Dr. Humans. And our mission is to make as many Dr. Humans as we can reach feel more human. Just go to the podcast app, click on the show, and find the option to review. The other way you can help us is just by sharing the podcast with someone in your life who you know will say, thank you for saying that, or tagging us on social media. And if you're in healthcare looking for speakers for your next event, or professionals who actually get it to facilitate the vulnerable conversations our teams of doctors need, request us through podcastfordoctors@gmail.com.